Hello, 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 those that are coming in. There we go. Ah, now we're all in place. Hi, Sam Tobert from Sound of Joy Music Services. And if you see my opening there, we are answering a request from one of our subscribers. I'm still in the midst of revamping how I can shoot my videos, especially when it wants to be a lesson. One of my subscribers wanted to know how to record using the Yamaha MOX F6 keyboard. He looked at a demo video I did back in 2011 when I purchased mine, and he's the first one to ask me to show how do you actually make recordings on this device. So I thought I would go live versus making a video. Sometimes questions may come up in case he may be on. I'm sure he got the notification that I've gone live, and I'll give you a run through of how I used it to create tracks myself to use. Once I got comfortable, of course, you read the book on it and you look at others do it on on other YouTube pages. But the fun part about doing this is when you really get comfortable creating your own music, you have 16 tracks available to you to create the same type of recording you would do if you were doing it on a live computer. Of course, now you don't see my keyboard because I wanted to be able to give you the view you need to be able to look at, which is the actual window here where everything happens when you're doing a recording. Generally, when you bring it up, you come up with it's the performance mode. I always change it from there when I bring it back up. From there, you have to go into the song mode. And once you press the song mode, let's see if this is working. I've been testing it out before I came live. There we go. There's wide. Let's bring it in. Here we go. When you go into the song mode, now, of course, as I said, I have already songs that I have placed in here. But you will always start off with track 1. I've actually got my songs already programmed into here. You'll always start off with track 1. So you scroll to the next available track. Now you can either use the jogging wheel, the data wheel they call it, to scroll through, or you can use the incrementer. I believe I've got a track 12 is the one I've got that's open that I was going to use. Just to give you an idea of what I've done already on this, let's just see which one can I use. This one this keyboard allows you to import MIDI files, and then you could assign those tracks. I did that with the Hallelujah chorus one year so that I could change the pitch and change the tempo and yet still keep the essence of the song. So I'll let you hear what I did there very briefly. This is all sequenced on the keyboard. How are you doing, Chris? While it's playing, you can go into the mixing board and you can see all your tracks. Those are all, maybe not every track being used, but I think I used about 11 tracks. All right, let me stop that. I don't want to interfere with somebody's copyright. But these are the things that you can do with this keyboard. As I say, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have 12. I have 11 songs already. Now, that was a MIDI file that I had imported into this one and then adjusted the sounds. I've created my own also. Let's see. I did God Will Take Care of You by Walter Hawkins. I'll let you hear what that is. So I want to show you what the features of this keyboard. I've got the piano voice turned down. It has a tremendous sound also when played through an amplifier. Of course, you can go to each individual track, make your adjustments, volume, panning left and right. All right, so just want to give you an idea. This is the keyboard itself. This is the Yamaha MOX. This is the MOX 6 that I purchased. The gentleman who wants me to give him tips or the instruction on how to use his the same way has the MOF6, a newer version. Same keyboard though. But this is all coming out of the keyboard itself. No computer involvement at all. So let's get into how we set up to do an actual recording. Again, you search for an open track. In this case, Untitled. I started a song there and I didn't complete it, so I just cleared it out. But it'll always come open as an, let me see. You'll always see it like this. I'll use this as my example, 13. Nothing in there. In this window, it tells you the measure, how long you want the song to go. That's determined by you by playing. You have scenes, you have groove, you have track, you have play. All of these buttons have a feature that they do within the creation of the song. There we go. I should say it's just these three on the bottom, where you determine what you want the track to be. Now that's the real, the advanced part of it. You want to be able to get your song in. That is done. Let me just back my camera up. Okay, gotta cover this part first. This is important. When you hit, let me just back this up a little bit, go a little wider. The record feature or the record button is located. There's a set of transport buttons right here. You've got locate, you have forward, you have backwards, you have start, you have play. You didn't see me hitting those because I was focusing on the display. The majority of your work is going to be done here, and I want to say here. This is where you're going to be selecting which tracks you want which voices on. As a default, every track is set to piano. Every track, no matter which one you hit, they're all set to piano. I'll show you where you're going to go in to make those changes. But when you hit record, the window changes. Now, let's bring this up so you can see the window, because this is important. I have to be able to work with a camera that gave me the zoom features. I don't have to be standing up. When this window comes up, this is where you do all of your settings. What tempo do you want? Is it 4/4 timing? Is it 3/4 timing? Because all that plays into how your song is going to be created. It defaults to 120 beats per minute, 4/4 timing. That's the default. We'll work with that, but you can change that. Where it says type here and overdub, that allows you to, you might say it's typing in the MIDI format. MIDI allows you to have more notes overwritten without wiping out the previous notes. But if you should want to, how can I say, always, if you want to change things, you can change that overdub to replace. As I said, you can have the these buttons here to take you through the different ones. You got replace, you got overdub, you got punch. Punch allows you to, so let's say you did a recording and everything is great except one part. Punch allows you to go in and overwrite just that part. So it can actually play through, and you can play if though you're playing with it, and when you get to that part in the MIDI, it'll punch in whatever spacing that you have there so that you can enter that in. That's really, again, that's that advanced stuff, which I'll cover also. You've got step, which means you can enter one note at a time. No one really does that. At least I've never used step. I've always started with overdub because I always uh, like to be able to play back what I'm doing, and if I don't like something that's in it, then I can go to punch and take it out. So type, you're going to start with it. Let it be overdub. That's the default. Quantize, I leave it off because I like to hear, you know, a live feel when I'm doing my recording. I don't like it when the keyboard or the computer makes everything like you know, mechanical. If I want to hold it this and do that, I don't want to be good. I don't want it to change that on me. So I always leave quantize off. Record track, that's track one. As you change tracks, you'll see that change depending upon which track that you're recording. You can use the up and down arrows to scroll in between everything. As you can see, I can scroll to measure. You can determine what measure you want to start at. One is always a good place. Tempo speed, on your keyboard, let's see if I can back this up enough where you can see it. You can determine what tempo you want to use, but you can also change the tempo. Let's get to a wide. And at any time, because it's in the actual MIDI format. So I can't move the camera without crawling up on the ceiling where I got the camera set. But your tempo button, I won't say it's a button, it's an actual knob. It's a control knob. You have a set of knobs here. Tempo is the number 3 prompt underneath the 4th knob. You'll see high, reverse, rep send, tempo. You'll have to hit this knob until you see it come down to the 3rd light. You go to tempo, and now you can adjust the tempo. Let me just move my camera back up again. This is all important because you want to set up. You want to set up your recording before you start playing. So that you see as I turn the knob, you see the tempo change. Now, how do you determine the tempo? You depend upon the song you're doing. Oh, overdub allows you to overwrite, not overwrite, but to overwrite what you already have on that track. So if you played 3 or 4 chords on the track, you can add 3 or 4 more chords on that same track. I use that if I'm doing a drum patch and I want to have a snare and a tambourine on the same track. I'll overdub them on the same track. So as you can see, this is changing the tempo of the song. Let's go with 90 for our tempo. Once you've reached that, everything resets, and now you see it says 90. Back this up a little bit so that you can. Okay. Bring that up a little bit right there. Okay. So we've already now covered the type, quantize we left off. Using the arrow keys, we're able to bounce up and down to all the different features. We're going to leave it at measure 1. We're at 90. Now, what this will do is give you a 2-beat head start, so you don't just start playing. So if I were to hit the play button, you hear it ticking. That is your tempo. And let me stop there and back it up again so you can see me hit the play button. That's why I didn't do this as a movie. I'm doing it live, because live you get a chance to answer questions. Let's just back this up. Okay, there we go. record to put me into the record mode, and then the play button starts the countdown. And you'll see it all in the screen, and then you'll see the actual screen begin to move. So let me just let's put a song in there. Now, because you're doing MIDI, you're not telling it what key you're in, because you're not talking to a computer. You're just inputting notes into the keyboard that you wanted to play back for you. Let's go with Thank You, Lord, for all you've done for me. And I'm going to do just the opening piano track. A nice 90 tempo. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, start already, and can't see my hands. And I'll stop right there. Okay, I'm so used to doing it on my computer, I hit the space bar on my keyboard. So now I've just recorded those measures. So because we're in the overdub feature, I can hit play again, and it'll play it back. This is on track 1. Now, if I wanted to watch that, I could go into, let me see, is it mixing? One of these windows lets me go in and look at the, at what I've just played. Please stop sequence. Okay, I don't want to do that. I'll go like that. All right, so that was track 1. If I kept it on overdub, I can now put another layer of melody beats over that. So I could go that wasn't what it's supposed to do. Let me get back out of here. See, this is what happens when you start pushing too many buttons. All right, here we go. Overdub is still on. It should play back what I put in there, so I can put more music over that. Oh, very important. Got to go back to the beginning. All right, here we go. Now I just added those notes. That's what I just added. I can go back into, now if I made a mistake, of course you can always go back and undo. If you were to go into edit, which is where I want to go to the show. These are all the notes here. Again, this is the real nitty part of it that I really don't get into, but make you aware that it is there. You can look at the MIDI data that you just stored. There we go. Get this right. Come on. Widen my screen, please. Oh. I'm going to zoom in. So that's the MIDI data. If I were to let it play, you'll see it scroll down. Okay, there it is. This is to let me see every note that I played, so if there's a bad note in it, you can realistically go in there and fix it. I would just rather replay it than go in there, but you can. All right. If I I go into job, job allows me to copy a song, split a pattern, clear a song, or song name, or undo. Undo is what I was saying. If you didn't like what something you did, you can either redo it over again or undo the last thing that you entered in, just like you would on a computer. Let's get out of that. So we've got our track in for piano, right? Just for that amount. Go back to the beginning. Now we can select track 2. As I said, every track defaults to piano. Now we're in track 2, piano. So we now want to add in another track. I always did piano, bass, organ, strings as my format whenever I use this keyboard, and then I added everything else after that. Okay, I'm going to bring it back a little bit. And to change a track name, you can go into mixing. As you can see, it's set to piano as the voice. Again, I got to zoom in so that you can see that. I'll get used to this. There we go. PN is piano. That's track 1. As you see, each time I hit to a different track, you see the light highlight and change to it. So let's say I want to put bass on track 2. You have a button here that says category search. You think you see a very, let me back it up just a little bit. Category search allows you to go into the keyboard. These are all the acoustic pianos. As you scroll, there's keyboard, organ, guitar, bass. Once you've done that, generally what I will do, because again I have my favorites. Let me just break it down a bit. There we go. I scroll down to all, and then I hit enter. I'll make sure you get a view of what I'm doing. I hit enter. So that every bass sound the keyboard has is displayed for me. And then I pick from whichever one I want to use. And there are many. And each time you scroll down, you get a different sound. As I say, I've got my favorites: upright, mega acoustic, my favorite when I'm doing any kind of production. I like a good acoustic sound, but with a little bit of meat at the bottom. So I always go for, I believe it's passive. There it is. A little bite on it, but also has a bottom. And trust me, when you play this keyboard through a tremendous sounding amp, you get that really good sounding bass. Strong G, yes, I'm going to cover that. It has a tremendous Hammond sound when you select the right one for what you want to do. Chris, does the quantize work for when you're playing a piano voice and the song mode? No, if you're in a live setting mode, then quantize is not going to work. It's only when you're doing this type of what they call sequencing. We call it recording, but it's really you're actually sequencing a song by placing all the notes in a certain pattern to make a song. So now we're in track 2. We're going to select this bass, which is the one I like. Again, you've got, I've never counted them all, but it goes, it must be at least, I'm going to say 50, maybe 55 different basses in there. And it just goes on and on and on. And this is bass. all different sounds. Again, this keyboard, it's an underrated keyboard because no one really uses it to its full capacity unless you just live with it. Man, maybe 100 bass sounds in here. Look at that. It's way too many for me. That's why I always find the one that gives me the sound I want, which is passive. So now, as you see, I've selected bass. It now says bass. If I were to go to voice, which is the window here, it gives me an option to go in and see what number I selected. 22 out of the basses. It has the name of the bass, what it's called. This way, if you don't like that, you can actually go in here and change it. Now, I took you through category search because I like to do it that way so I can see all the different models. But you can also go into it from the keyboard and do it the long way. Find the one that's comfortable for you. And yes, once you've recorded your bass part, if you want to change the bass, you can also do that together too. Can you bring them all together in an overlay? No, you wouldn't do that. You just take another track. I say you've got 16 tracks. So if you wanted one bass sound in one track and another bass sound on another track, and you want to have them both play the same notes together, you can copy tracks, 2 tracks. This way you can make 2 copies of a bass track and have 2 different basses on each track to sort of overlay your sounds. Yes, there is a capacity of how many notes this keyboard can play. I've reached that several times where when it reaches capacity, it basically drops out. I've done that doing a lot of trying to get a lot of drum fills in with a lot of music. I will go back in and start taking out some of the music so I can get a nice drum fill in. So we got our bass there. We're going to go back to record. As you can see, it comes back to overdub. We're in track 2 now, and we're going to layer in bass 2. And so now I've just put in 2 tracks. I can check it by going back into play and let it play through. And it is that easy. It is that easy. Once you get comfortable doing it, picking what voicing that you want, you can get it right in there. And as you can see, the measures are counting. So that's what I've done so far. So you've asked, I think a Strong G asked about the organ sound. My sequence is always piano, bass, and then an organ. We're going to go through the same thing. We're going to go to category. I'm going to scroll to organ. Now, it has, without a foot pedal, I mean a volume pedal. I've never tried the volume pedal in the record mode to see if it will record that. I think I do have a volume pedal that might, no, I think this doesn't give you a volume pedal. This is the B3 sound. Again, I won't say hundreds, but several, more dozens of different organ sounds. That's one, jazzy, first 3 with percussion. And yes, you have the Leslie. If you adjust hit the one of the bend knobs, if it allows it for you. Some of them do give there you go. You get that Leslie sound. Why am I not getting it? Let me go to the one I go to. Supposed to give me that Leslie feel. Okay, there may be something I need to turn on. It does give you that Leslie effect, but there may be something that I've got to go into and turn on to give me that feature. But depend upon what sound you want. That's the first one, right? Yeah, first one. You have all of these that you can go through for different Leslie sounds. And it gives you the vinyl organ, gives you the church organ sound. Again, do whatever it is that you sound you want. Let's see, jazzy. No, I want jazzy too, but jazz too, percussion. And like a little percussion in there. All right, so we're going to pick G. No, I don't want G11. The keyboard gives you general MIDI sounds and its own internal sounds. The general MIDI sounds really sound computerish, where its own sounds give you that real feel. Let's see. So I always pick jaw control. Because jaw control lets me move the one of the knobs, and I get that ability to pull drawbars out. Now, in the normal mode, you get the also tremolo with that, or the Leslie with this, but I'll have to read and see why I'm not getting it when I'm doing this. So I'm going to use draw control, which is the one I like to use all the time. So I can do that. Go back to make sure I'm at the beginning. I'm on track 3. And you'll know that by seeing what you have here. And when you go to record, it lets you know you're on track 3, still overdub. And let's put in an organ track. Hit the play button, you get the opening, bass comes in, piano. Real quick. So now I've got 3 tracks in, and again, because I'm comfortable doing this, it becomes normal for me. There's our 3 tracks. Now, of course, you can go into mixing. And you can see what everything is doing. You might be able to hear this. I'm panning the piano one direction, panning the organ in the other direction. And I'm adjusting down the volumes. I really should just leave everything in place, because sometimes you show too much, you get someone confused. But that's the essence of using this board to create your own tracks. Now, yes, mistakes are always made, but since you're the only one doing it, you can go in and make the changes if you want. As I said, I've shown you what overdub will allow you to go over what I just did. And let me come out here. And add to it, you might say. But let's just say I just did the organ track and I didn't like it. Probably wouldn't like it. I could go now in this mode, in the record mode, and do replace. Replace now will wipe out what I just put there. It's gone. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, piano, and am I on the right track? Oh, gotta remember to go back to the beginning. Here we go. 2, now I'm gonna wipe out what I just did. So now I've just wiped out what I did before. Can't get it back. Well, yes, if I do undo, I can bring back what I just did. But most times, if you're changing it because you don't like the way it sounds. Let me see the questions I have. I have a good jazzy organ on my Privia. Okay, how about how much? The you know they've changed so much. This is a 2011 board, so already it's 10 years old. But so you may be able to find it in the aftermarket. You won't find it brand new unless, of course, some stores have a stock of them that they just didn't sell. I'm trying to remember, did I pay 15 for this or not? 15 or 1200 for this. It was again 10 years ago and it had just came out, and I always like buying something that comes out new because I want to be able to learn all the different features of it, which I've yet to do on this one. I bought this board so that I could save my back. Usually when you go out to play and you're carrying a 40-pound keyboard, your back starts to kill you. And I used to have a Casio WX is WXK 1600, which I loved because I could do MIDI and I can actually do the same things I'm doing on this board on that board. So this was to replace that board when it came out. Have the Yamaha sounds, have the capabilities of importing a MIDI file, and also saving my own songs and created it on it. Again, you can also import a drum pattern from one of the drum tracks also onto a track here too. Now I haven't done that in a while, so I'd have to read up on that one. But that's where we are so far. I've got three tracks in there. Just play it again. So track 4 was usually for me strings, the same pattern. You go to record. Now I got replaced there. I like to go start with overdub. It would default to overdub. Go back in for. Okay, let's get out of this. I'm rushing it. Here we go. Track 4. Let me make sure I'm in track 4. Exit. Yes, I'm in track 4. Category search. Now, this is my format. Strings. Violin solo starts off everything, but I love the small ensemble. But since this is like a gospel song, I may go with small section. Let's see, small section, almighty, too big, medium, large, too big, quick bowls, aggressive. No. Again, your ears determine which you're going to use. Make sure I didn't miss any comments. I didn't. Of course, you can't see my hands because I want you to see the display. This is where all your work is being done on this display here. That's like an electronic string sound. Lush. That's kind of big. Let's go back to quick bowls. We'll go quick bowls just for grins, as they say. Okay. I'm getting stuff on my computer here I don't want to see right now. Let me just get rid of that. Of course, it's going to try and open up a window I don't want to see. Okay. So going to quick bowls. We made sure that we're starting at 001. Record. And we're going to lay in a string track. Again, I'm not doing the full song. Do you mind if I ask you a question about transposing a song? Sure, no problem. Again, this is all about sharing information. So I've got now 4 tracks in, and as you see, I haven't really begun to clip any clip yet because it's not really filling it up. It's not filling up its limited storage capacity. I've exceeded it at times. Then I will go into the song and back off on so much full playing. But this is where we are right now. 4 tracks. Again, we can go into mixing. Look at the tracks we have there. All right, so that's inputting. Does this process work also with the pattern mode? Yes, it does. Pattern mode allows you to. I was only covering the actual sequencing now. I was debating whether or not I should cover pattern because sometimes the pattern mode is like if you're doing a live set and you just want to play within particular patterns and you want to lock yourself into those patterns. This mode here allows you to create the entire song, mix it, and then you can either import it to a did I ever try that? No, I had other boards to do that. You can export it as a MIDI file and import it into your Pro Tools or your Cakewalk or Logic, whatever it is that you're using that can import a MIDI file. Or you can export rather. You can import a MIDI file from another from your workstation into this, as long as it's got 16 tracks, and then you could assign those voices that this keyboard has. Now, yes, if you send it a MIDI track that has pre-assigned voicing, it's going to try and match it from here in the general MIDI format. You'll find that those sounds are very generic. Then you'll need to go in here and start to re-record your own sounds and then save it that way. And we're going to cover saving also. Strong. I've been trying to transpose Take Me to the King from D flat to E flat. I'm having a double of a time. What would be the basic chords in E flat? I may have to do that separate. I want to get this video done for the gentleman that asked about recording. That I may have to do separate for me, separate for you, and just come back on. So, but hold that thought. Let me get this video in place for this gentleman here. So that's so far. That's recording everything using the sequencing or the recording feature on the MOX6 and all the MOF6, which is the one that gentleman has. I want to just widen it up a bit. So again, the most important areas that you're going to be working in is the sequence of transport. You've got left and right. So yes, you can be playing the song. Let's see, back it up. And you can quick scroll through it, which is what I'm doing right now. Go back while it's playing. You can do a quick scroll to get to a point in the song where you want to make some changes. You're allowed to quick scroll. Let me teleport in again because I want you to be able to see this happening. This is the song. I'm at measure 11. I'm hitting the transport, and you can see it's allowing me to go back and forward. So if you think you heard a mistake at measure 8, you can quick scroll to measure 8. Now you can either do it with this one, or you can do it with the. No, you can't do it with that knob because that's entitled. Let's see. Yes, you can. As long as you use your transport knobs to move you around in here, anything you can move around into, you can now have access to using the, what they call it, the data knob, but it's the knob that's like a transport knob. It lets you go from, it makes things easy to do. There's no key punching in numbers to get anywhere, so you can scroll, which is a lot faster, I think, to scroll to where you want to go, or you can use the transport buttons. So yeah, you have a lot of options as far as how to work around. These buttons here are going to be important to you. These buttons here are going to be important to you. These buttons here will be important to you when you're doing your final work, when you want to save it. You've got these buttons here: compare, scene, store, job. You can store what you've done. If you don't store it and you power it off, you lose everything. So what I'm going to do, yeah, I was doing this in 13 and not 12. Okay, so as you can see, everything is there still in 13. So I'm going to, let's see what I want to walk you through. We've covered the record, stop, play. We've covered the overdub, the punch, replace. Let's put in one more track. I'm going to do that as a drum track. Now, normally you would use MIDI track 10 if you're using a MIDI instrument for your drum track, because that's the default. Here you're not limited to that. I'm going to take track 5. Let's turn that off. And I'm going to again go back into category search and scroll to drum and percussion. Again, this is the same pattern. You've got dozens and dozens of different drum kits, different sounds from them. No, this is key drumming. That's all my hand doing that. So I can pick which drum kit, power, hyper. I usually settle with dry because it gives me a nice clean feel. And you've got all your fancy stuff that you can do in there once you know where these things are found. So we're gonna select this. Track 5, and let's see if I can time this correctly. And record 2, 3, and okay. I want to get the chimes in there. 2, 3, and too high. Now I just put in a basic drum and what do they call a hit, snare hit. Make sure it's there. There's my chimes. Now here's where overdub comes into play. I'm on the same track, 5. I'm going to add hi-hat and an open hi-hat. Same track, I'm not going to a separate track. This is what this keyboard allows you to do. Let's go. 2, 3, and 1, 2. What happened? Didn't hear that. Try it again. 2, 3, 4. Chimes. There we go. And track 5, I'm still on. No problem, Strong G. So now I've just added on track 5. This is what overdub does, writing over. So now I want to put in a also in there. Same on track 5. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, hi-hat and. Now the only bad part about this is that you can't go in and adjust anything without adjusting all of them. So if I lower down the volume, it'll lower it down on all of them. But this gives you more space for other tracks. I want to put a crash in there. Wait till I get to it. And there's my crash. So that's where we are so far. As far as creating a song with the MOX, and you can see using the sounds that's part of the MOX keyboard, it sounds live. You have the ability to go in and do your mixing. Trying to get this right. Right there. All right. So yes, you can go in now and do your mixing. I get the drums as the last, a little loud, so I can bring that down, keep the drums in the middle. I can scroll over my strings. I can pan them over to the left, bring them down a bit. Again, this is all being done by the keyboard. My organ, I can bring that down a bit because the piano is always the lead instrument. Put the organ on, oh, that's strings, organ. Pan the organ to the right, keep the bass in the center, and piano just a little bit, pan it to a little bit to the left, and bring the volume of the bass down a little bit. Again, this is all done without a computer because I've done this for so many years with this board. Haven't done it in a while, but again, it's not an issue for me to show the different features. And you can actually create an entire song and then direct a choir, which I've done with this one, and let the keyboard be all of your musicians: drummer, organ, organist, piano player, bass, strings, and you program the entire song and you just direct, which is what I've done with this, and you direct the choir. Now we hear everybody. Okay, to the beginning. Now, you have a stereo keyboard or headphones on, you'll hear the mix of the different voicing in left and right. I'm going to go back and bring the strings up a little bit. Take the organ down a little bit. Haven't exceeded the memory limit yet of this keyboard. I'm not a very good, keyboard drummer. I'm very poor, but I've done enough I can get through a song without having to have to pay for someone to play keyboard. So I hope that I should have kept his name. The gentleman that had asked me to please post a video on how you can use this keyboard to create sounds. I've given you 5 tracks. I've shown you generically what each of the buttons will do. I want to cover now, once you've got your song recorded, you don't want to lose it when you power it off. So we're going to cover that right now. What you're going to go to is job. I'm sorry, not job, but you're going to go to store. There we go. You might see my hands. Going to go to store. No, I'm still doing it wrong. That's why live is so much fun. You do. Let's see. I just saw it too. Exit is your way out of anything. So if you make a mistake, you want to get out of it by using exit. And I was just in it. I just saw it. I went in it by mistake. It's not in job, right? Because it allows you to name the song and then save it. Anytime it asks you, are you sure? Don't just say yes. Be quick to say no so that you can be sure. Give me a chance to find it. Let's get out of mixing. I think that's why I don't see it. There are so many windows. If you're in the wrong window, then you won't see what you want to see. Let's get back to here it is. Now I just want to make sure I show you how to correctly get to where I am right now. Let's go into okay. So we're back here. You'll have to be in the window of where your song is. Let me just see if I can bring this down so you can see what I'm doing, because I want this to be important. And then I'll see if I can come back and answer Strong G's message, because I'll need to play that song and transpose it. Okay, let me get out of here. All right, so here's where we are in the song. We know that we're here because we got our measures and it plays. We now want to save what we've done. You're going to hit the job button. This is what's going to come up when you hit job. Copy song, split song, clear song, song name. You want to name the song. So you're going to scroll down to 04, hit enter. You're going to give the song a name. Again, the jog wheel will help you move around. We'll call this one It's always going to start you with capitals. So we'll name this one Thank You. Press enter to, no, that's not what I wanted to do. I didn't scroll over. There we go. That's what I didn't do. So I said I like it when it's live like this, so you can let you see that I'm not perfect. Each time you select a letter, you're going to hit the scroll key to go to the next space to continue writing it. Now you don't get I think you get maybe 13 spaces. I have to look at it again. So I'll just do a few of them. As you can see, I'm getting it in there. I'm scrolling to the smaller. You can have all capitals, or you can call it whatever you want to. You know, song 1, song 3, song 5. I like using words because it gives me a quick way of looking at it. I'll just go thank, because this won't stay there. Get the last letter in. And we'll go with a big U. Thank you. Numbers. There we go. PQ. So. Once you get here, and you've decided on what you wanted to say, the enter button, executed, completed, that is now the song name. Exit to back out of that, because now you've named it, and you'll see it up in the upper display. Let me make sure I get this zoom in correctly. I named the song Thank You, and I exit out of that. I got to get this. I got to count. 1, 2. There it is. So now it's got the name Thank You. So now you want to go to, actually, yeah, once you've named the song, that's like writing it into it. Let me just verify that now. Clear song. We're not going to clear it. I'm not going to split this. I'm not going to split to a pattern. I'm not going to, again, there's a lot of other features that I don't particularly use. And so as you can see, now Thank You is stored there. And if you want to add to it or make changes, you can always go back into it, add to it, and make changes. But it is now there. It's there permanently. 13, slot number 13 has that song. As I'll let you see, all my other slots have songs that I've put in there already, and they've stayed there. Let's see, how many spots do they give you? I've never seen the end of this. You've got 64 spots where you can store 64 separate sequence recordings. I never went to the end to see where the end was. So this board, it's a very powerful board. Oh yeah, well, I mean, uh, when I started with Cakewalk back in the early days, before I had a keyboard like this, I learned all the MIDI sequencing there and MIDI files, and I would use as many tracks as I possibly could. If you've gone to the internet, you'll find a lot of my earlier MIDIs there where I just played crazy. I just played and played. But when I got to this keyboard, I said I need to be able to feel comfortable where I'm not trying to play every sound like it's a piano. So it taught me, if I'm in a bass track, sound like a bass player. If I'm in a string track, sound like string players. If I'm in a horns track, sound like horn players, not a piano sounding like a horn player. You don't have 10 fingers playing horns, but you have maybe 5 at the most. And they're all stretched out, the highest horn to your middle horn. And then you don't have all trumpets, but you have a mixture of trombones and French horns. So this board allowed me to take what I was doing MIDI-wise and do it on the actual board and create an entire song that I would use with my choirs. I said, what's the other? I'm trying to think what else I want to cover. Oh, in the event you want to, and I'll do that here. You want to erase what you've done. That's when you go into job and you go clear song, and I will clear it. You hit enter. It's always gonna make sure that you're on the song you want to clear, number 13, and it's always gonna ask you, are you sure? This is the one thing I like about this board. If you're ever in a rush and you see this message, you're asking yourself, am I clearing the right song? No will always exit. Exit is always no. Yes will carry it out. And once it's carried out, it's gone. There is no undoing this. So generally you would say no or exit. And then you look at, well, what am I doing here? Oh, I meant to change the song. I didn't mean to clear it. Copy the song. You can copy this and send it to another and store it and recall it onto another track. Why would you want to do that? I don't know. But you can do that. Oh, that's what I didn't cover. Go back. You're in the MIDI format. Remember I said that you have all the features of what MIDI can do? We're in the key of A flat. I can transpose this down. So, let me go back into it. Where's transpose at? Can I do it from here? Yep. I can transpose it down. I just went down. Now it's in a different. Now it's in a different key. No, it's the wrong thing. I'm hitting octave and not transpose. Transpose. I thought I could transpose this down. Okay, I thought I could transpose this down. Yep, transpose is there. Oh, I gotta select it. So I told you, I gotta use the arrow keys. There we go. Transpose. Transpose it down 2 keys. Transposed it down 2 keys. Okay, I gotta use the dial. I can't use the transpose. There are transpose buttons. That's for live playing. But if I did it from the display, now I can transpose it down. And transposed it down. So if your singers are not feeling well that day, and you want to lower the song, I just transposed it down too. Now it's a whole different key. This is the magic of this keyboard and the magic of a MIDI-based keyboard where I just changed the key of the entire key of the whole production. I don't have to say, well, we can't do it because my singers are all worn out from singing the previous song. You can bring it down. Or I can bring it up. If you got some good singers, take it up 2 steps. And as you can see, the tempo never changed. You can't do that without going through a whole lot of trouble with an actual digital a DAW, working on a workstation on a computer. You have all this power on a keyboard. There we go. Let's take that back to the regular key. You could change the tempo. If you need to speed the song up, you would never really want to slow it down, but you could do that too for rehearsal purposes, I guess, for a bunch of musicians. So go back to the key which you did the original recording. I should have called this name. Jog wheel is the name for this, where you can jog around, fast, slow. But this is what MIDI on this keyboard allows you to do. Create a song, change the key, change the instrumentation, go in and change the song if you want to take out a track, or you can silence. There's no mute button, if I remember right, in the mixing. You just go to voice. There is no mute, but you can lower the volume. I've done that where, let's say I want to play with this track. I don't want to call out his name, but there's a famous keyboardist that's always, and he does tremendous music. Does that tremendous music, but whenever I see him play, I never see him play without a background track. Never. He's always playing behind and the background track is always kicking to where he hasn't got much work to do. With this, you could go into the voicing, turn off the volume on the piano, select another track, and then play along with it. So I just muted or turned down the volume on the first track, which is the piano track that I laid, and then I played along with it. Again, I sound good with the band that I created. This is all the features that you can do with this keyboard. It's a lot of power. As I say, it's an 11-year-old board now. I bought it in 2011. There are other versions of it that came out, but I'm pretty sure they kept the features the same. The buttons are pretty much, I think Yamaha likes to keep everything standard. So whatever you're doing on your board, you can, what I've done on this board, you can do the same on your board. I think I was covering the last thing where if you wanted to clear this job, go back to the main page, select job, clear song. I want to wipe this out. Say enter. Again, are you sure? Yes. Executing. Completed. That song has now been cleared, and you can check that by going back, and you've got a completely clean slate. If I hit play, nothing is there. So I believe this will give you my subscriber who had the question. I'm sorry, I didn't write your name down. Everything that you need to do to go into that board that you have, create your own song, select the voicing that you want to use. Just want to back this up a little bit. Select the voicing you want to use. Create that song, save it, make any changes you want to make, change the key if you want to use it live somewhere. And if you have any other questions, I took longer than I wanted to do. It's an hour. I want to take 30 minutes to do this, but because I'm playing with these features, you can see this. I've got the whole board here. I had to change my whole setup here so I can get this board under my camera that does have the zoom feature. You don't need to see me play. You've seen this. I got over 650 videos of me playing. This is the part of that I like now, that I'm actually can demonstrate some of these boards that I'm using to help you get as much use out of it as you possibly can. Strong G, like you said, you don't have to go to a studio if you're a beginner musician who wants to understand what is the studio experience about. It's about creating in your mind the music. If you're not a singer, like I'm not a singer, God knows I want a singer so bad. But you can now create the tracks. If you don't have a bass player, but you can understand what you want the bass to do, you can create that. This you can, as a MIDI file, export to a computer and print out the sheet music from what you've done, from what you've created. As I say, you can also import MIDI files. You say, well, how can I export it to a MIDI? This has a USB connection, which I don't have plugged in. It has the standard MIDI cables, or where is it now? I thought I stuck it behind here. I'm sure I did. There we go. You can export to a USB stick. Let me see, can I get that in there? There we go. There's a USB stick spot in the back. Let's see if I can do this without messing up anything. The board weighs about 15 pounds. It's okay. So you see the back, you've got your standard in and out for the MIDI. You've got your host where you can plug in a USB cable, which I say I don't have it plugged in because I moved the other board out of the way. This is your standard way to go into a computer, but you can also go in through MIDI also, and you can save to a USB device. That's right here, a USB stick, so you can record to that. You could have unlimited songs. Rather, you get the 64, I think I counted, that you can do on this board, but with a USB stick, you have no limit to how many songs you could play through that stick into this board. If you create it and you import it back in, you can be as creative as you want to be. And that's what technology has afforded today's musician. So I think I've covered about everything as getting you started. As I say, there's a lot of more intricate stuff I didn't cover. Chaining songs together. You can have it play all the songs like if though you were in a, if you were doing a concert and you want to keep running to the board, when a song stops, you can have it continue to chain to all the songs. These are all the features you have here. I didn't cover how to bring in how to import one of the tracks in there. I've done that once. Again, I like, because it takes up so much memory when you import tracks, I try to start off as basic as possible. Let's see what else I may have left off of here. Signable switches. No, those don't work. Some of these buttons are active when you're in the regular modes. We've covered the recording. We covered the saving. Strong, you asked about pattern, I think. Or was it Chris that asked about pattern? Pattern is almost the same way as sequencing, except you are locked into a format. This is the program song on the pattern. This is built into the keyboard. It always gives. There are only 9 measures done there. So if you go to the next one. There it is. So this pattern that's built in there has, they didn't give you any more than those. I briefly touched on it. Let me stop this. I think I put in, what did I put in here for my patterns? Fracture, that's theirs. Down here, I put beats in there. I was trying to do some, church beats. That's what I put into it. So I didn't have a drum machine. So that's what I used it for creating an actual pattern. Yeah. So you can't switch it. So I would use it. So you can change the kit. I'm changing different kits. Stop that. So same concept. If you want to create your own pattern for, let's see if there's an empty spot. You would hit record, overdub. Again, you get the same format. It only gives you, I think, a certain amount of measures because it's just a pattern. In and out. It's like if you're doing a rock, a hip hop beat, and you only use 4 measures. This will give you that ability to create those 4 measures, and you create 4 measures, and you just have them follow one another. Same, but the same concept. You're hitting the record. Let's see. I have just a piano there. Let's see. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and no. Already. 1, 2, 3, and. And back to 1. That's all there is. There we go. Now I'm using overdub. You just get 4 measures. Again, I was using overdub, so I keep adding stuff over it, and that's pattern, not like sequencer where you can get a whole song in. Just a regular pattern. Now, of course, the same thing. You save it. Let's see. I want to see if I can get in where I can delete it. Those are the MIDI measures. I should be able to delete that. Here it is, delete. No, that's just deletes the patterns that I put in. I'm gonna delete the whole song. Track. There we go. Change track, clear track. Enter. Section A, clear track 3, right? Are you sure? It's always going to ask you, are you sure? Executing. So let's come out of this. And we should have cleared it all out. Okay, so it's all cleared out. Again, everything is done through the keyboard and gives you a way out. Okay, so again, if you have any more questions, thanks for those who came in. More questions about this board, and if you get stuck on something, of course, you always come back and send me a note here or contact me at my website, soundofjoy123@gmail.com, and I'll see what I can answer what I can. All right. Sam Tobert from Sound of Joy. Strong G, I'm going to come back on and see if I can answer your question about that song. I'm going to end this live. Thanks again, everyone. Stay safe. See you next time. Bye now.